All right, 6:30, June 25th. Welcome in for another Friday safety meeting of the week. This week's code of conduct is to maintain confidentiality, insider information learned about ECI or about our clients. Also, it's important to also think about ex-employees that have just left the company that are checking in. It's important that we maintain our confidentiality of how the company is doing with inside our organization, not share a bunch of information with people that no longer are with us. So let's think of that when we have some check-ins from. They're our friends, but let's just make sure that we're keep our business to ourselves and not share that with others. Nice job this week. Another 7 days without a recordable injury. We did have a couple small near misses, but excellent job on quick reporting. We're able to keep those as on-site first aid. So let's keep up with good reporting, good communication. And remember, the most important thing each day is to think about safety before we start a task. So let's continue with those good JHAs that we're doing every morning, and let's keep up the good work. With that said, now I'm going to pass over to Amy with PT360. We're going to jump into some more of our wellness series and injury prevention regarding overuse injuries. Take it away, Amy.
All right. Here we go. So we'll start this up. There we go. All right. So that was a good intro to thinking about safety. We also want to think about ourselves and keeping ourselves healthy every day. So we're going to talk about overuse injuries today. So what is an overuse injury? It's an injury to a muscle, joint, bone, or nerve caused from repetitive stress and trauma to that tissue. So in sports medicine, we tend to call these overuse injuries. In the workplace injury setting, we tend to call these repetitive stress injuries. The stress is usually small and can accumulate over time. This could be days, weeks, months, or even years. This is a lot different than your typical acute injuries that we think of, where you step out of a truck and roll your ankle, you twist and turn and hurt your back. This is small little injuries and micro traumas that occur over time. So what are examples of these little overuse injuries? So if you're in the office and you're typing 8 hours a day and you're really busy, you're not taking breaks, what do we often see? Carpal tunnel syndrome, so that's the numbness in your fingers, tennis elbow, neck pain, and back pain. If you're standing for a long period of time, so you're a surveyor, you're out on the road, you're on hard surfaces, we might start seeing a lot of back pain, hip pain, heel pain, that plantar fasciitis that no one really likes, or numbness in your legs even. So if you're sitting, if you're driving, if you're operating heavy machinery and you're doing this for, again, long periods of time, whether that's long periods of time in a single day or over a lifetime, what we often see is back pain, neck pain, and again, numbness in the legs. You're starting to see some repeat injuries here. If you're more active in your job, you're doing shoveling, you're raking, you're wrenching, you're using hand tools overhead, maybe you're a mechanic, power tools all day, what we might start seeing is more upper extremity injuries. So tennis elbow, golfer's elbow, that carpal tunnel shows up again. And one of the biggest things I see in this group is rotator cuff injuries. So in all of these cases, a muscle or tendon was overused or a nerve was compressed, and that tissue was overstressed, or the tissue was overstressed from a prolonged position. So these are all these things where if you're reaching overhead and using power tools overhead all day, what tends to happen is your muscles start to get tired, the tendon starts to get pinched between two bones, and that tendon starts to wear down a bit. So you might feel, in your 20s that it's a little bit of a pinch in the shoulder, but you recover pretty quickly. Once you start getting to 40s or 50s, you might not be able to lift your arm up overhead. It's that continuum of overstress and not managing it. If you're sitting all day and you're not getting up, you don't have a really good ergonomic position, and you're doing this, again, it could be just new and you're doing this for weeks, or you've been doing this for years, you could compress nerves in your back, you can compress nerves in your neck, or even nerves in the backside of your thigh from sitting in your chair in the wrong position. So here's a case for you guys and girls. You were sugaring all winter, you're carrying and hauling lines, you're cutting wood, you've been super active. You feel like, hey, I'm ready to go back to work in the spring. You start work again, and right now you're going to do some jackhammering and do some laboring. You might start off with 4 to 6 hours a day jackhammering and 4 hours a day shoveling, raking, and lifting. By the end of this first month, your hands become numb and weak. How did that happen? You thought you did a really good job preparing yourself all winter by staying really active doing your sugaring. So you prepared your body for the labor component of your job, so awesome, but you weren't prepared for jumping right into the jackhammering. With the jackhammering, it's a little different. It's a heavy, constant gripping, and the vibrations probably cause some carpal tunnel or tennis elbow. So you could, again, prepare yourself for some things and not others by staying active with other types of jobs or activities or strength and conditioning. So just like starting a new exercise program, starting back to work, starting a new project, or starting a project with different duties might require a slow ramp up of certain tasks. And I want you to keep that in mind, that slow ramp up, because that is really key to trying to prevent overuse injuries. When we think of athletes, we don't start with athletes jumping right into a season, into a game. We have them start with preseason training. You start with just some running, some basic drills, and slowly ramp up to being able to play a game. If we threw people just right into games, everyone would be hurt right off the bat. So think of that as your job as well. You guys are very similar to athletes. You are doing something for a very long period of time and requiring your body to do a lot. So what does a slow ramp up look like? So ensure your work setup is ergonomic, adjusted to your needs. This could be how you are set up in the field. This could be how you're set up in a vehicle, how you're set up at your desk. Wherever you are working, you want this setup to be right for you. Take a 1 to 2 minute break every hour to stand, stretch, or take a walk. Most people, is kind of your day ebbs and flows, you'll have this little break. The hard thing is creating a habit and creating the culture around saying it's okay to stand up and say if you're not operating your vehicle, obviously not during operation, and give your shoulders a stretch. If you are out in the field, putting your equipment down and taking a little stretch break while everyone's kind of standing around while something else is going on. If you're at your computer or desk, getting up and walking around the office. It doesn't take much. 1 to 2 minutes isn't a lot of time. Most of us have it in our day. It's really creating that habit. And it's taking a longer break every 3 to 4 hours. So that might be a 5 to 10 minute walk around, getting up out of your vehicle, out of the desk, sitting down if you're a laborer. And then another big thing is performing 10 minutes of exercise either before or after your work daily. You don't have to go to the gym and do a huge workout, but just doing something to prepare your body for the day. I know we've talked about this before with people that have active jobs that say, well, my job is active, I don't have to exercise, but you really do still need to prepare your body for all this activity that you're doing. So what does this look like? It could be very simply squeezing your shoulder blades together and reaching behind your back, opening that chest up. Every single job, our shoulders are forward. So anybody can benefit from opening that chest up. Stretching your forearms out is another good one. Stretching your neck, and then stretching your legs. So again, these can be done without any equipment and really without much intrusiveness in your day. As far as the daily exercises, again, here's a couple exercises at various levels. Everyone can do a squat and a twist, but everyone can very easily stretch their hamstrings out. That is low cost. There's I think 2 TheraBands in this picture and a strap. So something you could do for under $2 at home in the morning of just getting your body stronger and more stable to do what you're asking your body to do all day. So recommendations are to seek treatment sooner rather than later to avoid prolonged recovery. I'd rather see you early with pain and nip it in the bud rather than see you years down. But if I am seeing you years down, which tends to happen, it's not too late. You could still make some really important and big gains to improve your quality of life, reduce pain, and get your body a lot healthier. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Very informative, especially on a lot of that kind of prevention stuff that you talked about. Just quick little stretching here and there before you start the day, just kind of warm up your body and really think ahead the type of tasks that we're going to be doing to be able to make sure that we're not over extenuating ourselves. So these pop-up injuries, they could happen, but if we do, we do have a program in place to help remedy those so they kind of maintain a minor in a smaller window of recovery time versus being out of work for long periods of
Mhm.
time.
Good.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for
Thanks,
joining
Amy.
us. So Ken, if you want to take the controls
Sure will.
over.
Okay. Window. Oh, I haven't loaded yet. Okay. Let's see here. June. View in browser. Here we go. Okay. So for announcements, nothing urgent this week, just that we have an upcoming Independence Day holiday, which will be observed on Monday, July 5th, because the holiday's on Sunday. The 4th is on Sunday. And for the ECI Primary Care Wellness Program, I'm still posting it here. It's open and available, and I certainly encourage everyone to who's not already on it to get enrolled in the program. And also, good luck to Dana. Dana is retiring. Enjoy your retirement, Dana. So if you see Dana around or have a connection to him, just say hi and wish him well. For new employees, we'll get caught up next week with some new employees. I need to get another couple more photos, so we'll have a good summary next week. And for weather, we're looking at some hot weather starting Sunday. So protect yourself against heat injuries. It's going to be up near 90 on Sunday and remain warm for the first several days of the week. So be
Hey,
aware
Ken,
there. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. We can't see your screen.
Oh, my. Okay. Let's see here. I will try.
I thought it was on my end, but I think a
Yep.
lot of other people are having problems too.
Share. Maybe because I opened up the browser after I connected. Let's see. Right here. Do you see that?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so we didn't miss much from not having the screen because I didn't have any photos. So I'm waiting for next week to do the photos of the new employees. And the weather here, as I said, we got some warm weather coming, so be cautious. Protect yourself against heat injuries. Drink and watch your buddies. ECI COVID policies, nothing changed from last week. We're now in a lifted COVID restriction, so no COVID restrictions in Vermont. But we also need to be careful about mask if you are unvaccinated. So please wear a mask for your own protection, but it's not required. And also report all illnesses and close contact positive COVID tests in your household or any close exposure to the safety department before coming to work. And now I'm going to turn it over to Ben McKinney, and he'll give us the rundown on the VTrans Derby project.
Thanks, Ken. Do you want to scroll along or do you want me to share my screen?
Yeah, I can scroll.
Yeah, perfect. So ECI contracted with VTrans to rehabilitate the bridge seats, back walls, cheek walls, and some curbing on the I-91 bridges over the Clyde River in Derby, just south of the exit. And once on site, the need for some additional work around the finger joints, adding some drainage troughs under those joints and doing some approach work became necessary as well. We reduced traffic to one lane in each direction, one lane at a time, alternating between the two lanes as we advanced the work. And at the bridge rehab locations, we utilized that closed lane to get the load off that side of the bridge. So when we chipped around the bearings, we could jack the girders up and unload those bearings. There was moderate traffic, but it was a lot lower than usual because the only thing we had coming down from Canada was trucks due to COVID travel restrictions. So you can see one of the guys there chipping around a finger joint. Most of the finger joint stuff was extra work. And the finger joints, we often see maintenance issues with them. It seems like they're a good conduit for salt water in the concrete. I keep scrolling, Ken. So in some cases, and it's hard to see here, but the deck, the bridge deck where the finger joint is poured into on one side and the approach slab on the other. In some cases, the deck was rotten clear through and the back wall underneath was rotten. So the finger joint for some pretty long stretches was completely unsupported. So what we did, because obviously you don't want to have any issue with movement there, if it's already at the proper grade, is we supported it with some heavy tubing and some heavy angles that spanned back onto the sections of deck and approach slab to remain, and we welded it to the finger joint. Just a small weld, but enough to support it and keep it up. You want to keep scrolling. There's one of the pores. You can see where that section of back wall was really completely removed and replaced. Doing some finishing around our angles and tubing. Got a nice finish before pavement and some more tubing. And our jacking plan. On this one, we actually poured concrete pads. Sometimes it can be hard, especially when under most of these back walls, you've got the soil underneath sloping sharply. In this case, down to the Clyde River to Snow Machine Trail. It can be hard to get that soil to support what are often some pretty heavy loads. I don't recall. I think we were somewhere in the ballpark of 50 kip here, so not a tremendous load, but enough that you need to get some good spread, and you're not going to get so much spread out because you're losing grade. So if you fill it in, placing material on a slope isn't always a great way to support a load. So we poured some longer, narrower, tight to the bridge seat jacking pads, and then cribbed up from there, which seemed to work well.
I think there's some pictures of it coming up.
Some cheek wall replacement, a lot of chipping on this job.
And you can see the jacking down at the bottom of the girder.
Yep, you can see that nice crib tower there. It's a medium-term job. You can see where the trees haven't really leafed out in some of these pictures. We got there pretty much right off in the spring and just wrapped it up a couple weeks ago. So it's a nice job. Typical cribbing tower with some back wall and cheek wall work in the background.
Took the cheek wall entirely out, I see, or mostly out.
Yeah.
Made it easier to get to the bearings, all right.
Definitely.
Pretty beefy bearings.
Yep.
There was just a girder on each side of the bridge, or were there multiple girders?
I think that these were the guys that were there are gonna yell at me from their computers if I get this wrong. I think that these were 6 girder bridges, but I'm not positive of that.
So only the outer ones needed, or this outer one?
It varied.
Okay.
There were the outer ones. It seems like the outer ones take it harder because if and when there was some kind of a trough system, that's where the salt was splashing down. So I think that most outer bearings got rehab, but I think there were some intermediate interior bearings that did as well.
Mm-hmm. That's a completed work, at least on one of the bearings.
Almost completed. I think we dressed them up a little bit, but
Okay. Yep.
you can see the chevron style bracing, in lieu of a rolled diaphragm section there. Made access to that back wall a little tough. Definitely a tight squeeze there, but you could get through it. We had originally planned to remove that, but we evaluated it, and the guys were able to work around it, which was nice.
Kind of shows how tight the work was and underneath.
Yeah, These are a later generation. I'm not a great interstate history buff, but I think that this section of 91 was one of the later sections besides 93 to get completed. So not in really bad shape like some of the bridges that we see further south, but you know, the salt takes its toll. Here's our paved approach. Nice, completed and riding a lot better than it did.
Looks nice. Good. And that's it.
That's it.
Yep. And then for the photo archives, we got some bridge work at Genties Road in Colchester, crossing over the NECR, doing some, you know, resurfacing of the abutment face.
Looks like
Pretty
Tyler
extensive.
Clark in that picture.
Might be. Hard
Yeah,
to
it's,
tell.
it's Tyler and that's Sully in the basket. I remember that job.
Is it?
Yep.
Yeah, injecting some sort of epoxy, Hilti applied epoxy and some rebar pins to hold the new face of the abutment. So
And that was single
2012.
face, not shotcrete, right, Ken?
Yeah, it was a form face, right? That's what I recall.
I think so.
Yep. Okay. All right. Good. Thanks, Ben. Talk to you guys later. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Amy. Everybody have a safe day out there.
Yep. Thank you. Please just send me a quick message if you're watching a group setting so I can get a good number of attendants that joined us this morning. Be safe
Thanks,
out there.
guys.
Okay.
Bye-bye.